Don't ruin it.
Okay, we're live for another Tech Talk. We are now broadcasting for the first time from the kettle at SFCC because you can't see it because we're staring at it, but we have this gigantic giant TV screen on our wall with a camera right above it. And then it's pointed at our little table here, and then Nick's running the show from his laptop. So it's a pretty nice setup so far. Hopefully it's going to continue to work for us. So we'll find out.
And if it bursts into flames, you know why.
Yeah. Okay, so we wanted to talk about a tool called Canva. We know that a lot of instructors are already using this for different things. And we were curious about it, so we started playing with it, testing a couple things out. And we really like it for certain applications. The challenge with Canva is it's got so many things under the hood that it's kind of hard to know where to get started. So Nick has a couple of examples of use cases and best practices, and then we'll just kind of go from there and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. So one of the things that we're looking at right now is basically the homepage when you log on. So when we're
Jerry, you gotta mute your.
Kill me, Jerry.
Sorry. All right.
That's okay. So you can log in with a Google account. I can't remember if you can use your Outlook to
You
connect.
can use a Microsoft account, which
Microsoft
should
as well.
include Bigfoot emails for students.
Yeah,
Although we
we'll get
haven't
to that.
tested that, but I'm pretty sure it does. Google accounts, Apple accounts, Facebook accounts. Basically, if you have an account from a major
From
technology
anywhere.
company, you can use it to log into Canva.
Yeah, and you can create a free account, which is one of our baseline needs of a platform, is to have a pretty robust free version. So that's what we're using today. One of the things that Caleb mentioned is it's a really expansive platform. It's a graphic design platform. It's a presentation platform. It is a lot of different things. And the way you kind of navigate is through templates. In my mind, that's the easiest way to navigate, but you can create different basically objects in the space, and you can kind of see some of the options under this search bar. You can see some of the options down here. When you click into that, it gives you a very specific format that you can then design in. And one of the things that I find is a good place to start is this design spotlight up in the top left. This will essentially get you into a quick help article about, say, whatever platform or design you're trying to make. So this is basically the main things that Canva has access to. You'll notice we've got presentations, whiteboards, you can create graphs, and then there is video presentations, which isn't actually in here. So you'll notice that some stuff is missing, but we'll kind of go through how to navigate that as we go. But I think the first place to probably start is, what do presentations look like? Because I think a lot of our instructors are using Canva to kind of take the place of PowerPoint presentations or to design elements for their PowerPoint presentations. So let's just start there.
Because Nick, you can do both, right? You can present directly from Canva, or you can download it as, I think you can just download it as a PowerPoint file. Or no?
We have to double check. I believe it always comes through as a PDF.
Oh,
or
PDF, right.
But when we go to templates, this gives us access to kind of all those places that we can start from. So you'll notice that we've got some recommended items. If I go to presentations, it'll give me recommended as well. But I can dive even further and choose, oh, well, I'm in education. What do they have examples for? Well, here's an education presentation. I can start from there. And from this element, this is where I can basically create that blank presentation, which, you know, if you feel like you're really confident with this platform, that's where you might start. What I like is to find something that I just like the design of, and maybe I'll start kind of looking through. When you mouse over, you'll see what you don't have access to. If you've got a free account, that's what that Pro means.
And I think this is kind of the main draw of Canva, is they have so many really nice looking templates.
Tons of them. And I will just choose a random one. Sure, that looks nice and clean. It looks like this is actually a modeling portfolio presentation, but sure, let's use it.
Let's
Why
do it.
not? Let's make it weird.
Nick's modeling presentation.
So you click customize template, and then you're into the actual editor in Canva. So in this case, since I chose a presentation, it's in the presentation editor. They use the same basically tool set, which you'll see over on the far left. However, the actual format and how you add elements to it changes. So that's kind of the reason why you look for something that's similar to what you want, or you build a blank template and then kind of go from there. So you'll notice that whenever you're using a template, you can apply all of the elements of the template and it'll build it all out automatically, or you can pick and choose. The great thing about Canva is it's just drop and drag. So say, you know, I'm going through here and I want to, I don't know, add a picture of myself. You know, it's my modeling portfolio presentation, obviously. So I might want to add, instead of, you know, Harper's image, I might delete that, which you can just use standard keyboard commands. Then I can upload a file. Here's a picture of Ben I used. For,
oh, no, this is Ben's modeling.
Yeah, see, now this is a much better element to it. But you can bring in recordings, videos, GIFs, whatever you might need from your computer. Click, drag over, and once you've added it into Canva, you always have access to it. You can jump into elements, and this is where I think another one of Canva's strong suits kind of shows up. You can search for icons, images, what have you, and it will pull that up. So for an example, I was doing something on phishing, so phishing emails. So I was getting, you know, I needed a fishing rod to kind of be an icon for that. You can just search that up. So say, I want
Ben's chicken farming.
Ooh, chickens. Yeah, let's make it really bizarre.
I don't know if you know this, but Ben has a large family of chickens that he takes care of.
Well, and that would become natural conversation in some sort of professional modeling portfolio.
Absolutely.
Whether you're good with animals, do those kinds.
And then again, a thing that I like about this is the images and the vectors and the graphics and the photos that they have are all very high quality. When you use like clip art that's built in a PowerPoint or something, they're not usually very good. And Canva just has a lot of really great selections and resources to use.
And for example, I just clicked on a chicken
Now
and
there's a
it
chicken.
brought it over. And now I can click and drag it and move it where I need to. And I have the ability to duplicate it, delete it if I don't like the chicken. But then I've got also kind of some standard settings like you would find in PowerPoint, but they're just right there. And that's kind of the nice thing about this. It's really quick. I can bring it to the front if I want to overlay it over Ben's image. I don't know why I would do that, but you can start to see that editing is super quick and easy. And then there's elements where I could like animate, which is just like in a normal presentation. So yeah. Transitions. With certain icons as well, I can change the coloring. So if I wanted a teal chicken,
oh, hey, cool.
I could change it. And most of the free icons allow you to do that. You just have to kind of search for it and you'll see up in the top left, that's where those, if you have the option, it'll let you do that. You can crop it, you can flip it, and you can edit it and add weird filters and all sorts of stuff. So it keeps kind of steamrolling into more and more options. But it's the same options for every single template you choose. This is a presentation. We have the presentation options when it comes to how we're sharing it, which we'll talk about next, and presenting, but we can upload, we can bring in elements from other projects, put text, put audio, all sorts of elements right into the same thing, and then share those among our other projects if we want to. Everything we create ends up being essentially, we can bring it over to another presentation. So let's assume that this is exactly what I want for my presentation.
No notes.
No notes, no need. This is the artist formerly known as Ben, also known as Harper.
Okay, how do we share this?
So we've got a number of different options. You can present from Canva. You'll find a present button on basically all of the different projects, whether it be like an infographic, just a general graph. You can do videos and recordings in here. Tons of options, but you can do just standard presentation, like if we were doing a Zoom meeting or you're recording it through Panopto or something like that. You could do it that way. There are some different elements, like with a presentation, this format allows you to record over it. Like if you want to do a talking head, we can maybe talk about that at the end if we want to, but it's a very easy way to record. But if I just click present, it's going to full screen it just like in PowerPoint, and then I can advance the slides. Just like, oh, I love it. All sorts so weird choice of template for educational.
Maybe we should move on from Harper.
Let's move on from Harper. We've got other options to share as well, and this comes, a lot of these options are pretty similar across the board. You can create view-only links and send those to people, so if you're kind of like sharing an infographic within your team, there is the option to embed with certain elements. So if I go to more, I will have the ability to like embed this in a Canvas page. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. If I click the embed, it's going to allow me to copy. And this is the code I want, the HTML embed code. If I bring that over to Canvas, and I edit, I click into our HTML editor and I just copy that. It's going to do all the fun work for me. I click save. And now Harper is in my Canvas page. Now with this, it also is keyboard accessible. So if somebody has to navigate to it, it's just a, what would you call it? It's just an iframe. So it's just like if you took a Google slide, threw it in there, what have you. If somebody, I mean, if you make an infographic, you can do it this way as well. And you can make it in a PDF. So you've got multiple formats. And just as a reminder, when you're in that share screen, so we talked about going to more, finding that embed code, but you can also download. So here's our PDF option. If you're doing a video, you've got that option as well. So if you recorded yourself over this, you have that option. So there's so many different ways that you can take this, but the idea is you should be able to find a format that works in Canvas, can be then downloaded by students if they have, say, a bandwidth issue and can't really navigate through.
So should we talk about accessibility of how these are shared then?
Yeah, and that'd probably be the next step is, you know, maybe you've got something like this with the slide decks, it's probably going to be okay where somebody with a screen reader should be able to at least, okay, campaigns is obviously maybe a level 1 heading. But Canva doesn't do a very good job of order on, say, like an infographic or something like that. So you have to be kind of wary.
Yeah.
And one of the, I would say that's probably one of its biggest drawbacks is if you put this into a PDF, all of the text will be selectable and work basically like a screen reader will be able to capture it, but sometimes the order gets a little funky, so screen reader might be jumping around a lot. So you either need to fix the PDF after you've exported it or provide in another format that would be accessible. So either text in line or hidden in, say, like one of those drop-down accordions. Here's the actual text within this in the correct order.
So it's more accessible than just putting in an image of an infographic or a flyer or something.
Exactly, but
because it's still text, but the individual text elements, oh yeah, Jennifer's asking the question about that. So when you splice in the embed, so Jennifer's question, how is accessibility in Canva if we splice the embed code in, does that lower the accessibility rating? And I think the answer to that, Nick, and correct me if I'm wrong, by putting it as an embed, that doesn't really directly decrease the accessibility, but Canvas, not Canva, but Canvas has that immersive reader tool on each page, and that will not be able to work on embedded designs like Canva or like anything else that is embedded. So when it comes to like long form reading of like a text or an article or something, you're better off just putting the text directly into Canvas to have access to that immersive reader and some of those other tools. But it is still better than just having an image of an infographic or a flyer because the text is still selectable text. A screen reader can still read those. Although, like you said, the reading order, you have to be a little careful if it's a super complex design.
And I'll just check. Jennifer, does that kind of help as you navigate how you might use this? And does that fit with your accessibility needs in your classroom?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, so that's kind of the thing that we're not 100% sold on, I think, is it's a super great way to design complex page designs. It does a lot of the graphic design work for you if that's not a skill set that you have. So that's something that we like about it.
Right.
But,
So if you're You say that it already, if I did the embed code or whatever it is, let's say it's a page and it is gonna explain that it's a picture of Ben. Does it actually explain it, or do I have to click on the picture, or is it just somewhere if the screen reader is reading, it just says picture of Ben and that's it?
So the images that are provided by Canva, you know, these resources, these images that you search for.
I see.
Or the background images of the designs, those all have their own embedded alt text that Canva provides. Now, in our testing, some of those alt texts were very good and clear. This one probably just says chicken. Some of them are not the best alt text that I've ever seen. So like they will put alt text on decorative pieces sometimes. So I do think that this is an area that Canva needs to improve on. And I think that they have been working on improving some of those things, but it is something to be aware of.
And one of the things to also consider is that in Canva, like the picture of Ben, for example, to actually set the alt text, there isn't, and this was something we were looking at yesterday, there isn't a way to set that alt text.
What's under the edit image button?
So the edit image
That's
is
just
gonna be
filters
those
stuff.
filters and things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be surprised if, if I'd be able to find alt text in there. So basically what'll happen is a screen reader starts Harper Russo, professional model. Maybe it'll jump to the chicken. Then it might go to about me. Maybe it'll jump to this image of Ben. And it's just not quite
it's not 100%.
bringing it all together.
Yeah. So that is something that I would be a little worried about, or at least worried is maybe not the right word. I would be conscious of, and I would maybe do some testing if that's something that you're concerned about. And again, the more complex the page design, the more likely there are to be those issues.
Can I ask a question here? Just
Yeah, Jerry.
does the screen reader read through it in the sequence in which it was placed on the page? Or does it read through it based on its location on the page?
Not location.
It
Okay.
might be layers. So whatever's the
Because when you
lowest.
select on an item, any element, you can say send it to the front or send it to the back.
Okay, so that's probably where you're gonna find out how your screen reader reads through that page.
Yeah.
What the layers are,
Yeah.
and make sure that you layer it according to the sequence you want the screen reader to read.
And again, some of the templates are set up pretty well, and some of the templates are set up not so well when it comes to the layer order and that kind of thing.
And really, the only way to actually figure that out is to do a PDF export of it. So, and that's kind of one of the base, like we've been saying.
So we had a couple other questions in the chat.
I saw a hand up too.
Okay, so Craig's got his hand up. And then after Craig, I'll get through the chat and make sure we've got everything answered. So shoot, Craig.
So this application would really be about either creating new content for a Canvas class or revising the content that's already up there. But from what I'm hearing you say, Nick, it's just an easier way to do the page design rather than struggling with HTML code that we sometimes have to build into our pages.
I think
Those,
so.
those
Like,
kinds of things.
yeah, or like what I see a lot of people use it for is like designing event flyers or something like that, where maybe they previously tried to cobble it together in Microsoft Word, which is a huge pain in the butt to try to do design in Microsoft in Word.
Sure.
Or maybe they use Microsoft Publisher, which is a little bit better, but still kind of wonky.
Mhm.
For me, at least, the thing that I like the most is the nice looking templates that make it easy to come up with a really nice looking page design with very little effort. Another thing that I think it can have good application for is student work. You might want to encourage your students to use this tool to create a presentation or a flyer or an infographic, which also kind of reduces a little bit the accessibility concerns, because now you're not creating content for other students. It's content that they're sending to you as the instructor. And as long as it's accessible to you, it's not quite as much of a accessibility issue or concern.
Okay.
That's on top of like the actual presentations that can be done in here. So if you are having to revitalize, say, a lecture recording, this could be an option, and you can bring in a lot of those engaging graphics that kind of essentially make your lecture recordings a little less.
And I think I saw a question in the chat about captions, and when you're doing the video recordings or the presentation recordings, it does have auto captioning
Mhm.
built into the system, so that's a nice feature.
Does. And then Dr. Devo asked, is the presentation stored on their cloud? Yes, you have 5 gigabytes free storage space. You can also take any of your recordings, download them as high quality MP4s, and throw them in Panopto, which is always our standard or our unlimited storage space.
And then, yeah, so Jennifer has a great question. If students worked on an assignment with this, how would they submit? Seems like there's many options.
There's a ton of different options, and that might be how you'd prefer to receive them. You can receive them as a PDF. You can have them just send you a link. So we talked about how you might be embedding, or you might be downloading, or you might be recording and downloading. But you can also just copy a link that allows anyone essentially to access it. So if I copy this link and I send it out to everybody, they'll be, can't edit, can view, copy, and then send.
And so a student could just submit the link to their Canva project
Yeah.
in a Canvas assignment. Or they can download it as a PDF and share it that way. There is so many options, it almost becomes a problem a little bit.
Yes, that's
So-
where you need to have a lot of structure and like, this is exactly
Yeah.
what I want
So
for
if
this
you-
presentation.
So if you were gonna tell your students, I want a Canva infographic, you need to tell them, and I want you to download as a PDF and upload the PDF. Or I want you to submit the direct link to it or something like that. Yeah, Roger, there are so many options, which is a blessing and a curse here, I think.
Yeah, and Jennifer asked a quick question, if you like build a recording and share through Canva, you do get insights, is what they call it, but that's their data analytics. You don't get like who specifically viewed it, and a lot of this stuff I think is
The pro account.
yeah, so I think you can only get total views and viewers. I assume if individuals were signed in, Canva will log that. And if you send out unique links, like if I'm sending this to my 115 course, and then I send it to my 125 course, I would have 2 separate links that I could then look at, say, how many students engaged in one class versus another. But that's once again one of the pro features, and I think the pro costs about $119 a year. So that's an element.
So I
there.
think like if it were me and I were using Canva to make presentation recordings, I'd probably be inclined to download the video file and then to upload it in Panopto. Because then we have all the Panopto features at our disposal, the much better analytics, better Canvas integration.
And
Canva
students
has-
will be logged in.
Yeah.
when they watch those generally.
So so when it comes to video, maybe you might use Canva as the authoring tool, but then you're hosting it in Panopto.
Once again, up to instructor preference, like everything else.
And then
then-
also, the
yeah.
Panopto quizzes, you can embed those in Panopto, you can't do that in Canva.
Exactly.
We're getting close to out of time, but what else do we want to look at?
Well, let me just show a couple of different templates that I think our instructors might use the most and what I've seen a lot of. If I come back to this homepage, if I click more, I can kind of see the different options that we've got available, but the infographic has a lot of great templates. I feel like that's always something where I never know how to start. But this is great because I can kind of build something on the fly and go, okay, maybe I've got some sort of resource that I haven't found a really good way of displaying for my students. And one of these things we talked about, okay, that one's pro, but let's say this is the process that I want. You can embed this, you can change the text, you can
Change the
delete
color.
items, you can change the color, you can basically brand it however you want, but it's quick to get started. It's a nice, easy layout. Obviously, Canva isn't going to be doing except like color accessibility, so that's going to be something you're going to want to consider. But once again, really quick to start up. You can find something that probably fits what you need if you don't want to build it on your own. And once you feel more comfortable and see kind of how they're using it, you can of course do that. But just another option where if you need something that's like a top down or maybe a timeline, you can make those pretty easily. And that's kind of a really cool way to build, say, the task list for an assignment, or you might have some material that does need this kind of process that students will be going back to pretty consistently. So might as well make it a nice enduring resource that when they look at it, makes sense, it's clear, and just looks good. And maybe one of the last things that I kind of want to talk about, we saw in the presentation that we had those options to record after the fact. If you click on talking presentation, that's basically one of the main ways that you can kind of create this. Instead of that share button being alone, it now has this present and record. When you click on it, it brings you into a recording studio that asks to use your mic and video, shoots you over into the corner. You can talk over your slides, pretty standard. And then when you're done, that's where we get to the share. We can download. And in this case, since I don't have anything on the slide, it's going, hey, this is empty. But you would then be able to choose the MP4 style and bring that file type over to Panopto.
So then again, maybe this isn't the right tool for instructors every time, but it might be a good tool for students. If you're asking them to create a presentation recording, that this is a nice, easy tool for them.
And that actually brings us, I think, to the last item just to kind of think about is whiteboards. You can actually create, much like a Google Jamboard, a collaborative, asynchronous collaborative online environment. So you've got some great templates that you can pull from, play around with. But if it brings it up, it doesn't. What I'll do is just, here we go, here's an example where you could just build something really quick. I like the edit tools on this. I can resize things as I need. Navigate around, click and drag, move around as I need. But if I wanted to share this out with my students, maybe it's a temperature check, maybe it's a discussion board, my line tool. You could do so many different options here, but I can share. And if I choose anyone with the link can edit, if they have a Canva account, they can jump into this space and they can edit it just like I can. And then at the end of it, you could download as a PDF for the students to interact with. Obviously, once you're asking people to actually use the platform as well, we come back to those accessibility concerns. Canva even says that some of like the icons, for example, don't have elements that can be seen by somebody that maybe isn't sighted that's actually using the platform. So that's something to consider, but the alt text should still be there and they should be able to navigate with a keyboard or with a screen reader. It's just not as robust as, say, other authoring tools like PowerPoint, for example, is really well known for being pretty accessible to a screen reader. So
And it's probably comparable to like Google Jamboard in terms of
yes, and that's a good point as well.
which is something that we also use. Yeah, Jennifer likes my maps idea, awesome. You use bubble.com, which I don't think I've ever used that one. We'll have to explore that tool.
Yeah, maybe that's the next tech topic.
Yeah, it might be.
Maybe we'll get Jennifer to tell us.
Yeah,
you
you just made a mistake.
Yeah. Careful, don't tell us about cool tools. We'll make you talk about it.
That's probably everything we have time for this session.
Yeah.
We can still hang out for a while longer if anybody has questions or wants to discuss further. Next week, I'm super excited about our topic next week. We'll be talking about AI, artificial intelligence writing tools, which when we started researching those and playing with them, we were kind of shocked at how some of those worked, both the potential applications, but also some pretty huge dangers and concerns about it. And we also know anecdotally from talking to some instructors, some of your students are already using these tools to help them write. But we'll explore that more next week. So we'll see you then.
It's good seeing you all. Thanks for coming.
All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast, but if anybody wants to hang out in Zoom, they're welcome to.
So Caleb, maybe you or Nick already answered this. How much storage